I'm just playing through Borderlands 2 right now. I've always loved the game because everyone in it is filled with personality and humor. But something that I kind of dislike about it is that the characters you play as don't really seem to care about what's happening in the world around them. In the game, each character has their own dialogue and distinct personalities. Axton obviously hails from the military. Zero is more of a loner character. And Krieg is a straight up psycho, no pun intended.
I have the shiniest meat bicycle!
But aside from this, they don't really have all that much to say related to the plot of the game itself. So it made me wonder, why did they bother giving them voices in the first place? There's always been silent protagonists in the past. What's the point of making one that barely speaks? There's no lack of silent protagonists in video games. Characters that you play as who never speak throughout the entire game, regardless of what happens around them. Characters like Chell from Portal, Gordon Freeman from Half-Life, and hell, pretty much every Call of Duty character up until Mason from Black Ops.
The fucking numbers!
So why is it that they remain silent even though so much is happening around them? Older games originally kept their protagonists silent because in the 8-bit video game era, it wasn't actually possible to have voice acting. Nowadays, developers can make a character as deep and intriguing as they want. And with the talents of voice actors like Steve Bloom, Nolan North, and Troy Baker, it's a no-brainer to give them voices.
That's for all the clown jokes. That's for never calling just to say hi. That's because I get aroused when I slap people.
But even today, we still get so many of the now overused silent protagonist. The reason they do this is to make you feel like you're in the game, that you were controlling the events of the story yourself. But mostly, it's to make you feel more connected to the character you're playing as, because without a real identity, a character can be whoever you want it to be. Some characters like Master Chief here barely speak at all. He, like many other protagonists, also never show his face. This gives enough leeway for the player to feel like they are the character, but not too much so they can still have their own identity. Certain games give in-game reasons as to why their protagonist never speaks, such as Portal, where the protagonist Chell stays silent throughout the entire game, even though all the other characters are constantly assaulting her with dialogue.
I don't want your damn lemons! What am I supposed to do with these?
Eric Woldpaw, one of Portal's writers, addressed this, saying that, "We always assumed she would talk and simply just chooses not to. What with all these robots being dicks, she's not giving them the satisfaction of saying anything. When the silent protagonist fits the character like it does Chell, it works in a video game. She doesn't necessarily need to speak, and that's okay. Halo 3 ODST's Rookie is the perfect example of this. For the majority of the game, he's alone during the night trying to find out what happened to his fellow squad members. He doesn't need to speak because he doesn't have anyone to speak to, and he fits this mystery character well because he's a new member on the team."
Now's one of those times. Pays to be the strong, silent type.
But this isn't always the case for all video games. Sometimes there isn't an established protagonist yet. Other times you create the protagonist, and this is where voice acting can become tricky. Character creation is a place where the silent protagonist thrives. Most games with character creation like Skyrim and Fallout 3 tend to stay away from giving the protagonist a voice, as the idea of a character creator is to make the person that you want to play as, and by giving them a set voice that the player may dislike, it can take away from that experience. Games want you to be able to relate to your character. If a character is already established, it's sometimes hard for certain people to like them. Saints Row found a way around this by adding many voices to choose from.
I am the king of this shit!
This gives the player many more options to choose from, and a greater chance that they will like the final character that they are presented with. There are even characters that have been given voices years later, even though they're already established. Samus Aran originally never spoke, and most players had no idea she was even female. This changed in Metroid Other M, the first Metroid game with full voice acting. Isaac Clarke from Dead Space was another character who found his voice in the sequel, Dead Space 2. Mario was restricted to silence until 1995, 14 years after he was created. And even Bowser was once given a voice in Super Mario Sunshine, although players found it bizarre, so it was never used again.
Junior, I've got something difficult to tell you about Princess Peach.
I know, she's not really my mama.
Like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, the Borderlands protagonists pretty much never talk about the plot, while the writer of the game Anthony Birch actually thought so too. So in the later downloadable content packs for Borderlands 2, he gave each individual class character-specific dialogue that was extremely well received.
Sometimes you'll be like hungry, but there won't be any food around. So you'll have to, get up and go all the way to the store. Buy some.
When they released Borderlands the pre-sequel, they expanded even more on this idea. We never hear what Gordon Freeman sounds like or what Master Chief looks like under his helmet. And I hope we never do, because the moment that illusion is broken, we may not like what we find.
Drop it, sentry!
Hey, thanks for watching the first in what I hope will be a long series of videos. If you like what you saw, like and subscribe to my channel, I'd really appreciate it. I already have some ideas for a few other videos I'm going to start working on right after this. So thank you again, and I'll see you in the next one.